Hello everyone, welcome to the Feuerle Collection. My name is Daniele Maruca, I'm the director. I would like to greet all of you to this final astrological lecture during the Art Week, the Berlin Art Week today with Alexander Graf von Schlieffen. And I would like to greet our founder, Désiré Feuerle, who is sitting amongst you, and you will listen to his voice later during the lecture.
Out of the dark.
Out of the dark. We are actually waiting a couple of minutes to start because since it's Art Week and we would like to give the chance to the ones who have been stuck in the S-Bahn or with the public transportation also to reach us, I will fill this couple of minutes with some information that maybe is useful for you to understand, maybe also the contextualization of this cycle. We have been very happy of the idea coming from Désiré Feuerle to curate a series of 4 exhibitions in the Silk Room, this space that has been created at the Feuerle Collection with silk walls, very special walls, created with Thai silk, selected by Désiré for temporary exhibitions, with Alexander Graf von Schlieffen, who is a painter, part of the Feuerle Collection's permanent treasure since the late 80s and early 90s already. Very long friendship between our founder and himself, and who ever since the beginning of the 90s discovered a very strong need, I would say, and interest for astrology, and developed a very complex research in the field of astrology. So he's, as a painter and an astrologer, a juxtaposition in himself. And in this case, Désiré Feuerle created or curated the idea to juxtapose in the first place early works by Alexander, created in the very late 80s or early 90s, and his astrological and philosophical and mystical view of the world. And so as a 4th and final episode, the incredible and very beautiful chance that we have is to see now the most recent work created by him, and we will learn many things about it within this lecture. But I also would like to say that for me as a director, it's very meaningful that we had the chance to work with Alexander this year, because it's the year before our 10th anniversary that is starting in 2026, exactly between April and May, like it was in 2016 when the Feuerle Collection first opened. And it's important for us, for me, and I think for our audiences, to discover the pivotal aspects of Désiré's work from the very beginning. And we had an incredibly beautiful exhibition called Natural Beauty, Curated Nature, which was opening the journey, the steps towards our anniversary last year, in which we could really see how Désiré juxtaposes very precious pieces from his collection and natural objects. And I think this interest for the world, for life, for the universe, for things that exist and don't exist yet, is what fascinated me from the very beginning, when I had the honor to be asked to become director of this incredible place and institution. And I'm very happy to see that our audiences are growing, and that within this cycle we could, because we included for the first time astrology in this incredible system of juxtapositions that Désiré has opened to us, we also started having new audiences. And it's my pleasure to see that it's such a filled, beautiful silk room, and that I saw many faces for the first time. It might be a combination of everything, also the Art Week. We are very happy to be part of the Art Week since so many years, but I am sure that Alexander's reputation and this combination of painting and astrology is very fascinating and very unique also in the Berlin landscape, institutional and artistic landscape, I would say, for sure.
It's the first time ever, as far as I can say, that
Yes.
astrology appears in the context of an art museum.
Yes, I also...
I've never heard about it.
Yes, me neither. And I think what I want to say as a part of this pre-introduction, under introduction, subtitled introduction, is that I really have to thank Désiré Feuerle for the will and the opportunity that he gave us to give a glance into this incredible universe that he's bit by bit opening to us. And one of the other things that he's been achieving in the last years is this incredible journey through film as well. And yeah, we are very excited to see what's coming next. I am very excited in the first place. Now I would say we can start. We start with, I would say before the first question comes, that it's from a curiosity viewpoint, the most important question of the evening, because we are unveiling something new, and it's something that happens very rarely in the art world nowadays. I would like to say something. It was a series of mystical paintings from the beginning, and the ones of us who were here from the beginning and could see the early paintings selected by Désiré for the first 3 episodes know what I'm talking about. And it's always about new worlds or doors or gates to dimensions that are beyond the physically close to us, but they are within us. And what we see tonight is, again, a new gate. Alexander, can you tell us something about this new work? First of all, what's the title? And
the title is, it was always very difficult for me to find titles for my paintings, because the painting is a painting in itself, and the title is often like an ad. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think it's okay. It's an add-on, and so most of my work has no titles, untitled. But recently, since I'm also into music, in the past years, I sometimes decided to take the titles of music pieces that I really love for a piece of painting, because the connection between, or the interconnectedness between painting, astrology, and music is highly significant for me. So this painting has been completed kind of 3 weeks ago. And I didn't know about the title because it's a complex painting, despite the fact that it doesn't have a motif. And I called it Vers la flamme, which means towards the flame, which is based on a title of a piece of my most beloved composer, the Russian composer, Alexander Graf.
Jawohl. She's allowed to do this. I think she's the only person allowed to do this. I was not daring to do it.
Who was that? I didn't see her.
Thank you, Sevin.
Thank you. All right, and maybe I have a chance to meet her later.
I wish it to you.
And so the title is Vers la flamme, towards the flame. It's because it's about darkness and light. It's about the juxtaposition of darkness and light. And Alexander Graf's work has been very, very important for the development of my so-called artistic, whatever, personality. There is a lot of music that I really love as much as his music. There's so much music that I love, you know that. But Scriabin's music hits me at a point where nobody else is getting to. It's like his music could be part of my own matrix, and this has been from the very beginning. I I think the first time I heard his music was when I was 15, and I felt it's crazy music. It was something, the early music, like a mixture of Chopin and jazz. But then I got into the music, and the late work of Scriabin is breathtakingly beautiful. And his music is very dark, but it's about the light. So it's not about the darkness and remaining in the darkness. It's about departing from the darkness to come to the light, which is, in astrology, the principle of Pluto or the sign Scorpio. It's about dedicating yourself deeply to something in order to get to the core, the essence of what it's about. And he was a mystic. Not Gurdjieff, he as well was also very important for me, but Scriabin was a mystic. What I find very interesting is that Scriabin is not so well known in Germany, although I think he's one of the most striking composers. So that's an invitation for all of you to listen to Alexander Scriabin's music, especially the late piano music. It's kind of beyond things we usually know.
I agree. I also love Scriabin. We discovered this actually by chance.
Yeah.
I think you said something that somehow describes also your work, and I would like to go back to this.
Mm-hmm.
You said he is interested, or he's describing in a way that is very strongly linked to darkness, something that is going towards the light.
Yeah.
And you work in a very special way with light.
Yes.
And can you tell us something about it? How do you paint? How did you paint this painting?
Yes, I started back kind of 30 years ago. When I paint, I put a dark background on the canvas, and I kind of sculpt the light out of the dark. So I don't paint the shadow. Everything that you see on the painting that is shadow is left where I didn't paint the light, which is a complete different way of painting, because you sculpt something rather than adding. You have this example, Michelangelo.
Michelangelo Buonarroti. I think it's the way he was describing sculpture. He was saying that while painting is something that you put on the surface, sculpture is something you free out of the surface. No? L'arte del porre as something that is opposed to l'arte del levare, taking out.
Levare,
yes.
To elevate.
To elevate and free something.
And it's a complete different way, because so you are faced in the practice of the work with the juxtaposition of darkness and light. And then the other thing is the way the sculptures in the Feuerle collections are illuminated is also similar. Everything is dark here.
We will ask Désiré now about it.
Yeah. He will tell us later. He has to tell us later. And so you see the light pouring on the sculptures, and it's kind of a similar thing. And then you said, when we were sitting in front of the painting, and we had a conversation, we didn't have a discussion, we had a conversation, you said there are all the 4 elements in the painting, the astrological elements: fire, earth, air, and water. And I said, yeah, it's true, but I don't know where fire should be. And then you said, it's the light. And that was so inspiring to me when you told me this.
Thank you. I have to say, I'm not an expert on astrology. I was more describing what you did, and I think you were guiding me through this, let's say.
You said this, and it was incredibly inspiring, and I understood all of a sudden that the source of every light is always fire. So that in looking at astrology, there is a deep connection between the element of fire and light. And that connection was new to me. So, because like nowadays it's different, but when you look at original light, the light of the sun, even the light of the moon, which is just a reflection of the light of the sun, or a candle or a fire or old light bulbs, that was always based on fire. And the connection between fire and light from the astrological point is interesting because it might mean that the element fire is aspiring towards the light. And when you see it from an astrological perspective, you can't work with the light if you don't know the darkness, which again is Scorpio and the planet Pluto. So there's always a connection. If you don't know the darkness, you can't really know the light, because otherwise, if you think you know the light without knowing the darkness, you do esoteric illustration of a mental fantasy, which has nothing to do with the truth of kind of what it means to go into the space.
I like what you say, and actually we want also to say Feuerle means also fire.
They invented, in the Earth epoch, the last 200 years, the understanding of life was very mechanical and very material. So for everything that is connected but not explicable on a rational way, they called it Zufall. So the Zufall has a complete different meaning nowadays after the Earth era or Earth Empire. There is no Zufall. That it's Feuerle and it's vers la flamme. But I have to confess that when I chose the title, you forgive me, Désiré, I didn't think about the Feuerle Collection, but it fits.
We will go back to the Feuerle Collection and to Mr. Feuerle very soon. I have actually one question that is going more into the awe and the sense of beauty that I perceive when I see how this painting is installed here.
Yeah.
Maybe you can also tell us something about the dimensions and why the painting is that large. But I also would like to add, actually, the Silk Room project is, I would describe it as a project room within the collection where very different works are always recontextualized on a sort of meta level with the light work. We are talking about light, curated by Désiré Feuerle. This is a language that has been developed in a unique way ever since Désiré was very young, and you know him for so long. So you are our witness that it's really like this.
Yes.
And I like very much that also the red or the golden thread between early and super recent work has been created by this light.
Mm-hmm.
My question now is, and I think you felt it, is about the size. And you once told me that you resonate a lot with Japanese painting. Is it the case in this moment as well?
Yes, I mean, the thing is the light and the fire and Feuerle and the fact that Désiré is doing the light installation. So he's creating this magic light on the painting. And I can say that still decent. And he is a fire sign, so that it makes sense on many, many levels. And that itself, it's about the painting, but then it's about how you put this painting on the wall, how you kind of, the mise en scène, and that's a different thing. And when I started that painting, I had a complete different idea about what I wanted to do, which is always the case, because I saw paintings by a Dutch painter called Hondekotter in Bavaria, and he did huge paintings of landscapes and animals. And what I found fascinating about these paintings was that they didn't have a proper composition. And the thing of leaving the composition behind has always been very interesting for me. So I discovered that our usual perception is rectangular. So we have rectangles. We have upside or regular rectangles. So the TV screen, the computer screen, the mobile phone, it's always about rectangles. And when we work within the framework of a rectangle, we are somehow obliged to a composition. And one of many aspects that I love about Japanese painting is that it doesn't have that rectangle dimension. So Japanese paintings are very long, like this one, or they are very high. And once it's so long, you leave the necessity to be within a composition. It's more like a movie. Sorry. You leave the necessity to create a composition. It's more like an excerpt from a film or from a movie. And so there's a lightness, because it's not about the composition. And this is again something that connects this work to Scriabin, because he was one of the first composers who started to leave the melody as we knew the melody before. And he left the classical composition of minor and major. He wasn't working with the thirds in music, he was working with the fourth, and therefore created a complete different system of music, which was kind of, at that time in art history, it was also Impressionism in France and everywhere else. The big motifs disappeared, and it was about taking a detail and talking about the detail, and the way the narrative was set about the detail was important for painting. And that's the Japanese thing. This painting is 2 by 5 meters. It's oil on canvas. The size is kind of the distance between the columns.
We have been saying from the beginning, light is one of the unique languages that Désiré Feuerle applies when he observes and shows us art pieces within a special context. This space has been created by him, and the light is always curated by him. Since the beginning, I've seen him going up and down ladders and working for months, really day and night on this. So, and I think this is important to say because it's also very rare. There are no collectors that I know of who do all this work by themselves. It's very unique.
Who know that there is a relationship between the light and the ladder.
That they work on the light themselves, that they really use light like this. I bring you the microphone, Désiré, because I know where you sit, although nobody sees you. Can you tell us how you work with light to show the soul of an artwork?
Okay, I mean, it's a question I have to think for a moment. Of course, every art piece is different, and you have to capture the essence of an art piece. What means you have to feel it more than you look at it. And when you capture what is the soul of an art piece, then you can, I think, you can bring things out which are important to understand the art piece, and others you keep in the shadow. So it's also important, you know, to make a decision what you want to bring out and what you keep in the shadow. I think that's the key to illuminate an art piece well, to understand what the artist wanted to bring out, what was his interest, why he spent maybe his whole life to trying to achieve something, to feel that.
Thank you. I see you doing this every day, and I really appreciate this uniqueness every time that I see a new result. And I think what you did here was to describe these two elements that we were talking about from the beginning, and let's talk about the second element, the water.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about it?
The water is really an incredible element, and now we are about to enter the 200-year air epoch. We spoke about this in the last 3 lectures, but nevertheless, there are always new people that don't know that. So we had a 200-year Earth epoch from 1802 to 2020, and ever since we are in a transformation into a new air epoch that goes on for approximately 200 years, and after that we will have a water epoch. And so the interesting thing about these astrological cycles is that we always anticipate the issues of the following, of the precedent epoch, creating problems in the epoch that we are in. So in the Earth epoch, we created a lot of ecological problems. It's about Earth, but it's also about destroying the Earth. And then we had a lot of problems with pollution of the air. And now we are entering the air epoch, and it's about how to cope with these things. And we talk about these, how are they called, these windmills, thank you, the windmills. And what is going to happen in the air epoch is that we will create problems with the water. And water will be very significant, therefore, already now for the next 200 years, but then it will become the big issue in 200 years when the water epoch is starting. And I was painting mushrooms for 7 years, but as I was doing these mushroom paintings, I painted them standing on the side of a river. So I started to paint the water, and then I started to paint just water. And so I was studying water for years, taking hundreds of pictures, drawings, and whatever. And doing that, I discovered that water is the most difficult element to catch, to paint. Because in itself, you can't paint it. You can only, if you have a pond, you see the reflection of the world around it, but nevertheless, it could also be just glass. So you have to throw something into the water in order to create waves, and then the way the environment is mirrored in the waves makes you recognize the water. And that moment was so striking for me, to understand how intelligent the element of water is. Water is astrologically about connectedness. It's about the connectedness that doesn't need explanation, that doesn't need a reason. It's something you feel. And I felt maybe water is the most intelligent element that we have. So you can paint fire, you can paint earth, you can also paint air. I mean, you paint the clouds, or seemingly there's a bit of wind blowing in from the left side. But water is very, very difficult. So you don't get it. You only get it by the environment reflecting itself on the surface of the water. And that, I felt this is so fascinating.
So now I have again to stand up, because this place has an incredible element that is an art piece in its own right, and has been created here under the name The Lake Room by Désiré. Désiré, what Alexander just described actually describes perfectly the feeling that one has standing in front of this water installation. Many people don't even see it. And I have seen in this almost 10 years after the opening of this place, excellent figures from the art, all fields of the art, being so touched in front of that lake room. Incredible men and women, and I think this is one of the most unforgettable aspects of what you created here. Can you tell us something about why this place exists?
When I made the installation here, it was very important that I create something with a balance. And I personally like water very much. So it was always in my head to maybe include something with water, but I didn't think at the beginning I have to make it so big, because it's a really huge space. We speak about 2,500 square meters, completely flooded. And yes, when I installed it, I thought you need one quiet place, something to look in nowhere. It's a kind of looking in nowhere, but there is something, and when you look, you see the water, and it transports something in you, I think in everybody, when you see that, and you feel, and you continue in the collection. So it was it's a very important part to balance, and it's a very important part also to look inside and get a bit lost with your thoughts, and then you look again, you feel the space, and you look at the art. We have no labels, but there is a reason, because labels, written things, distract you in an incredible way. It distracts you from feeling art. That's what I really think, and for that we don't have labels here.
That's fabulous. No labels.
Yes,
no food
labels
for the mind.
And the lake room is actually one of the reasons why people started asking us every Thursday to have a meditation, possibility here. And Désiré decided every Thursday there's 1 hour people can come here, meditate, and they mostly meditate in front of the water.
Yes. And we have had an experience that was very interesting. People standing in front of the lake room, and the water was still. so there was nothing but a reflection of the upper room on the surface of the water, so you could not recognize if this was water or not. And people tried to understand what was happening, and they would not get there, because they was trying to understand it with their brain. What is this? Kind of measuring the space.
Sure, I was there. We observed this also these
Yes.
days. Yeah, it's like
Yes.
it's really true. I have now a question that is related to your work as an astrologer, but also to your presence here this year. I mean, we have been choosing dates together, but also according to the main events in this city linked to art. It's a cycle of 4. I mean, in astrological terms.
Cycle of 4.
Yeah.
Scriabin, he didn't work with the thirds, he worked with the fourth. Scriabin didn't work with the thirds, he worked with the fourth.
This fits perfectly.
By the way.
So, did you observe the dates of our cycle from an astrological viewpoint? And how would you describe the astrological reason why this cycle made sense or makes sense this year?
We have, in astrology, the slow-moving planets are important for the zeitgeist, because the fact that they are moving slowly means they stay for a long time in a sign, and therefore this is how we interpret the bigger themes in the time that we live in. And so we have kind of 5 slow outer planets, they are called, and they all shifted signs this year. So they all went from one sign to the next sign. And most of the planets shifted from earth and water to fire and air. Earth and water is female and receptive, and fire and air is male, and it's about action. There is no value in this. It's not about male is better than female, that would be ridiculous anyway, but it's about taking action. And so in this year, it's super significant to take action, to start new things, to experiment with new things, not to be painstakingly involved in rethinking things from the past. It's about the first step. And so it's been a reunition between Désiré and myself and you, which is also related to the fact that in the first lecture you asked me 29 questions, and Désiré and myself had not been working together for 29 years, plus my birthday is on the 29th, and so on.
And we had 290 people who applied for the first lecture.
Alles Zufall.
But now I have the surprise question, the one that you never know about. Always there's been a surprise question. I mean, when we were talking, for many reasons, we ended up talking about something that really touched me, and it's the 12th house. I want you to talk about this, if it's possible.
The 12th house is the last house in a birth chart. We have 12 houses, we have 12 signs. And the 12th house in astrology is mainly the most misunderstood house. So people say the 10th house is the 10th house is profession.
Perfect.
The 11th house is groups, and the 12th house is question mark meditation. And so the 10th house is about the official definition of what we call reality in a time. The 11th house is the network of this system of reality, and the 12th house is the hidden reality. So everything that is there but is not part of what we seemingly know. So the 12th house is maybe the most fascinating house in astrology, because it's not about the things we see and the things we know, but about the things we do not know. So when I come to your house, I can see all the things. I can see what's on the wall, I can see what's on the table, I can see what's in the garden. But the most interesting things are the ones that I don't see. And this is the 12th house. We didn't talk about this, but just, you know.
I somehow felt this. And I mean, this place and you and Désiré and all the things that are happening, the fact that there are no labels and no texts, and that you can come, and I mean, people are coming here like 9 times, and we have a very young public, and they come maybe 9 times with 9 different young friends, and I mean, our community is growing like this. This 12th house sense that is surrounding all this work.
Yeah.
Can you explain why is it like this?
Because
in this
it's
case.
If you would have the labels, if you would have neon tube, the white cube thing, everything would be kind of everyday realistic. And it's like you go to the place and it's like a continuation of what you have experienced all day long. But when you come to the Feuerle collection, the first thing you do, you go in a dark room and you listen. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's an experience for everyone. But it's like leaving the everyday life behind to enter another world which might not be part of the official everyday world, but maybe is more important for your life. And so it's like a bit more of a secret, and so whenever things become too popular, they don't have the magic of the 12th house anymore. So the 12th house, of course, is also about everything that has a mystic quality. And I think being here, we can definitely say this has a mystic quality.
I totally agree. And I mean, I would say we have been diving into your mystical world from the beginning. And I mean, especially for me, and surely also for those who have been here from the beginning, we also could see bit by bit so many aspects of your deep and constant friendship with Désiré for so many years. And that's one constant thing. But all the rest changes around and has been changing so much. And your work also has evolved. I mean, it was mystical work already very much at the beginning, and it's kept all its mystical aspects and evolved through also new experiences you made. But also the art world and the world changed.
Yeah.
So my question is now, as a painter, and for you as a man and an astrologer, in all those years, from the first piece to the last one now, as the art scene has evolved and reflected, how would you say that, how would you describe all these patterns from your viewpoint in the art world? What did you see? What has happened?
I think there is a change in the art world. There's a change starting to happen now, and it will go on, and it needs to go on. Personally, my interest was always mystic, about mysticism, and when I started to do my work in the 80s, doing mystical work, everybody would laugh at you because at that time nobody was interested in that. So the beautiful thing is now we can sit here, we can talk about the mystical aspect. If I imagine sitting in the 80s in a gallery with white neon tubes, talking about mysticism, that wouldn't work. People would say, eh? And so there's a change, the openness towards broader interconnectedness is definitely getting bigger. And I think this is very helpful for culture.
Yes, and I mean, I'm not because I'm the director of this institution, but I have been in dialogues also over the past days, but especially in the past months and years, and now there's the need of a place like this.
Yeah.
Would you have said the same in the 80s? Do you think people were that far, they would understand there was the need for a place like this already there?
If I wouldn't have felt that there would be a need already in the 80s, I wouldn't have done my work. I wouldn't have done astrological work. I wouldn't have done the musical work that I'm doing, because it's all about this. But if you do it in a world that is not interested in it, it's different. But the need, of course, it's there. It's very healthy. A culture that doesn't include mysticism is lacking probably the essence. That's what I would say.
I agree. I mean, before we go to the most important or more interesting and unexpected part of these lectures, that is the questions coming from the public, I have one last question for you. And it's, what is your wish for us? What do you wish deeply within yourself that we take out of this cycle that has been so important for us this year and will reverberate with us? What is your wish for us, Alexander?
Usually I don't do wishes, but I mean, if I was forced to, I would
force
say-
you if I can.
Yeah, push. And I would say it's about that people allow themselves to be touched. You know, we are so trained to approach things with our mind. That's why Désiré says there's never a sign explaining anything. You know, people go through museums, they have headphones on, and they listen to texts rather than looking at at the pieces. And I think the ability to be touched is a very beautiful ability. It's maybe one of the biggest strengths of us, but it's been considered as a weakness. You have to be strong, you know.
Thank you for this wish. I also agree. It's also my wish.
So we have the same wish.
Yeah, I accompany you in this wish.
We
And
wish
now-
together.
Yes, maybe it's stronger then. Now we would really like to hear from you. What are your questions? I mean, it's a quite unique opportunity. We have a very important astrologer here, not only an incredible painter, and also if you have questions, also to Mr. Feuerle, obviously. But if you have questions, please ask now. This is the final lecture. I think it's a great opportunity.
So I have two questions. One is, they're both connected to your work on portrait painting. And the first one is, what is your approach towards portrait painting as an astrologer? Because as an astrologer, you look into the personality, into destiny, into the path of life of one specific person. And portrait painting is very similar to that. And the second question is, do you draw the portrait also from the dark? Do you also use the same technique? And could you please elaborate on that? Thank you.
Elaborate on that. This is another wish. So all my work is done from the dark. So that means whenever I start a canvas, there's mainly something like Prussian blue, dark blue, and then I kind of sculpt the shapes out of it. I have two approaches because I look at a chart or I look at a person, I look at a face. And when I look at a face, I don't look at the chart. So when you see me somewhere, I never ask people, are you a Scorpio or a Libra? I don't do that. When I do it, astrology, I do it. And when I paint, I just look. And then I look at the birth chart afterwards. Because it's two different parallel ways to approach what I see. But the thing is about doing a portrait is not documenting the so-called reality. Doing a portrait means trying to look and see something like a mystical essence in the face and to depict that, because this is the beauty of a portrait. A portrait shouldn't be a documentary, then it's boring. That's my take on it. And so even if I did paint, I also did still lifes, I've done millions of portraits, it was never, despite the fact that I was kind of painted like an old master painting, it was never about realism, because I'm not interested in reality. I'm interested in reality as a gateway to a transcendent level. And that is something that's also related to a portrait. But I love the light. So I look at your hand and I just see the light and how it shapes the form of your hand. And this is the magic to me.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
You were talking before about the relationship between light and fire, and then you mentioned something about the importance of darkness in astrology?
Yes.
For the astrology?
Yeah.
For the emergence of light.
Mm-hmm.
And what is darkness in your terms? What do you mean with that?
Darkness is astrologically symbolized by the planet Pluto, and it's the biggest intensity you are capable of. And in order to get to know this intensity, you need to know the shadow side of it. So you need to know your potential of hate, of destruction, and whatever, in order to know what intensity means to create something of beauty and intensity. So beauty is not the absence of darkness, it always includes the darkness.
Alexander, we spoke very briefly.
Muss das Mikro ein bisschen näher. Mikro ein bisschen näher an den Mund. Das, was mir gesagt wurde, gebe ich jetzt weiter.
Danke.
Mach dein Mikro richtig.
Wir hatten neulich nur so aneinander vorbeigehen die Chance. Schaltet das Mikrofon?
Das ist mehr so wie ich, Pop.
Dann verschlucke ich es.
Ja, in English, also in English, Stefan. Yeah?
We started a discussion just recently, but we had no time to continue, about a very dark prediction for the years 2026 to 2028, and that after that 2029 will be sort of like a new arising of an incredible flourishing times on Earth for humanity. Is that written in the stars?
No.
No. Good. So I think I mentioned who predicted this, and
You told me, but it was not an astrologer who mentioned
no, it was not an astrologer. It was one of the spiritual teacher with the biggest following on this planet right now.
Quantity doesn't matter in terms of
That is
quality.
very true.
So the thing is, there are always, incredible prophecies. You remember 2012, the end of the Maya calendar, and it was about the end of everything. Dark prophecies sell better. I don't want to
Of
say
course.
this about the guy you talked
Sure,
about.
sure,
No, because
yeah.
this is not. But it's like we have to be careful. And our vision of an apocalypse is a total destruction of everything. But if you think about the time when the apocalypse was written, the Earth was people lived on the Earth with a consciousness. It was a pizza. It wasn't a football. And it was local, so we were living in a local area and we had knowledge about this local area, but we didn't know what was happening on the other side of the planet. So a local destruction was what inspired people to their imagination of an apocalypse, and I think we should always take this into account. And then we can see that things that happened since 2011, and especially in the past few years, they were happening already, several apocalypses, when you compare these to the ancient descriptions of apocalypses.
Yeah, there's so many, like thousands of them already predicted, and
Yeah.
we're still here. So,
We're still here.
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure. There's a question there.
I have a question too.
Okay. You are number 4.
Thank you, first of all, for this insight. You were talking about gender, and my question is regarding your research. What do you think, what you read, what you heard? What is the importance of assigning the concept of a two gender to astrology and all the traits that come with it? So, what is this importance?
I would. Can I? So the question was kind of the notion of gender, how we can relate this to the language of astrology. In astrology, we have male and female, so we have gender. We have places in a chart that are about something neutral, definitely. But kind of, it's a different language system. It's a very old language, astrology. So I wouldn't know how really to answer your question.
Yes, hello, Alexander. Hi. Lately I am very interested in the matter of reality shifts. And I was following some scientists and geophysicists who were talking about the Mandela effect, and that for the moment that more and more Mandela cascades and Mandela effects are appearing. And one of the Mandela effects was that the Earth actually is moved more into the center of the solar system, our solar system. My question is, if that would be so, would that have a completely different point of view from the astrologically system?
So astrology is about the relationship of the planets in the solar system. It's not about the relationship of the planets in the solar system to anything outside of the solar system. And insofar, if a shift of the position of the planet Earth is not indicated in the astrological language, it would not have an impact on that level. But if you think about we are at the shift from one epoch to the next, that will definitely have an impact on the way we see things, we perceive things, we think about things, especially how we feel about things. But you talk about something else than astrology, that's why. I'm just an astrologer.
Thank you.
I believe very strongly in the power of love.
A bit louder, please. So you see, it's difficult with the microphone.
Yeah, it is difficult. I believe very strongly in the power of love.
Clever.
And that the heart isn't just an organ in our body, but it's also one of our sins. Sin. Do you know what I mean?
The sin?
Yeah. Senses. One of our senses.
Senses, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
When I look at a piece of art, I try and see it with my heart rather than with my eyes. And my question is, looking at it from an astrological point of view, is there a special house or sign that's relevant to the heart?
Definitely. I mean, when you talk about the process of perception, even looking at artwork is something you should not do just with your eyes and your mind. It's about, if it touches you, you can look at artwork with your heart. And this is like, again, this is not an advertising campaign, but this is really what I feel about the Feuerle Collection. Especially when you go downstairs and you see all these pieces, you can't see them with your mind because you don't understand it. And in astrology, we have a section, and it's the second quadrant. So it's not just one spot, it's a sequence of 3 houses that decide about the way you touch, you are touched, you allow yourself to be touched, which is maybe something like a predisposition in order to see with your heart.
Hi. Oh, that is
How are you doing?
difficult. If the birth chart's a blueprint to the soul, and where the placements are in your houses come through and manifest as the core or strengths in your life, was there a moment when you observed your chart and saw your placements and then how you implemented that? So like where your creativity or the art or the astrology and philosophy sections kind of came through in your chart? Can you speak to how you went from seeing it and then embodying it in your life?
I didn't see it and embodied it, I just did it from the very beginning because I hardly ever look at my own chart. I don't do astrology for myself, I do it for other people. Because the reason why I do it is total pleasure and passion and not self-optimization. So I could take a look at my chart, but it's maybe the less interesting chart that I would want to look at. But definitely every chart is like a special pattern as a gateway to the opening of the unfolding of your soul. And the biggest question in astrology is if you can see in a birth chart whether somebody can get access to the soul or not. But I'm not going to talk about this now. It's really the thing. Astrology is so beautiful that you should not do it to optimize your own lives. It's so boring. It's about, it's about delving into an amazing language and discovering things, also philosophical connections, But I've seen my chart once.
Hi, thank you. I have a question to the portraits again.
Yeah.
If you are looking at the portrait birth chart afterwards, do you feel the need to go back to the portrait itself and change?
No.
So you would rather do the diptych?
Because if I'm a professional portrait painter, it should work without the chart. But the juxtaposition of the painting and the birth chart is highly interesting. And then to see sometimes, oh, I didn't know that, but I painted it. That's more fun.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the hushed delivery of today's lecture. Despite the booming mic, I feel it certainly very much contributes to the mystical feeling that there is tonight. But I wonder whether you also, and I'm sure this is not the first time that you fend off accusations of a certain feeling of Middle Ages. How do you usually counter those?
I didn't hear what you said about the Middle Ages. Accusation?
Yes, in light of astrology, and I guess I wondered when somebody questions your position quite fundamentally, what is your favorite way of responding to that type of criticism?
So a repetition. What is when I'm offended as an astrologer, like in the Middle Ages? What is my favorite answer to the question? It depends on the question, but the most stupid question people can ask, and it's the question that people always ask: do you believe in astrology? And then I say, once I was invited in a talk show, and I asked, my question was, do you believe in the color red? Astrology is a language, and you don't need to believe in a language in order to practice it. You don't need to believe in music. You know, I love painting, I die for it, but I don't believe in it. Believe is something completely different, and it doesn't relate to a linguistic system. Therefore, this is my favorite question. Don't ask me ever if I believe in astrology. And if you do believe in astrology, poor you know?
Okay, to wrap it up now, and before adding something, I would like to say from the beginning, actually, we were exploring so many different fields, and also talking about your books, and talking about love, talking about art, seeing what connections there have been in European culture, because the focus were mostly on European astrology, between the arts and this incredibly complex system of philosophical, mystical, mathematical, and very psychological aspects that are part of the research in astrology. We were talking about how children and adults alike are within a personal and very complex collective system of interconnectivity that is represented by different symbols. The stars are one, but many others have been mentioned. One of them was the mushroom, and we were very lucky to have very beautiful audience all the time with very different questions coming from the personal experience or more system-related and relevant resonance forms. Alexander is an artist in the first place, I would say, from my viewpoint, if I may dare to say this, and a very complete artist, because you're really going from the more visual aspects to the more acoustic aspects, and then within the spiritual and mystical context of vibrations of the mind and resonance with all the aspects of life, you chose to dedicate deeply to something that exists within our culture with rules and examples, but has been interpreted by you step by step every day with incredible concentration, discovering also things that have been unveiled, like the painting tonight, within your evolution as an astrologer as well, that started very early, but we were able even to show paintings that they were coming from a moment before that moment, and they were already incredibly deep. And that's, I think, important to know. The Feuerle Collection has so many of those paintings because that moment was so important. And I thank you for this. I thank also Désiré for this. I thank our audiences. I am very happy that you were so many tonight. I'm sorry that some of you had to stand because we were actually overwhelmed by the abundance of public. Thank you. And Alexander, together with Ling Wang, our tea practitioner in the house, in the Feuerle Collection, who has initiated together with Désiré a program of tea ceremonies. Alexander has selected a special tea for you tonight to taste, to round up somehow on a synesthetic level the evening. I would like Lynn to come here briefly to explain us what you're going to discover, what Alexander has selected, and maybe come into the light, maybe so that people can see you. I stand up and you come here, please, and you sit down. And a few words to know what you're going to feel now. And from my side, thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. It's my great honor to share this tea with you as a part of Alexander's exhibition opening. I wanted to share something quite personal, how I experienced Alexander. I was lucky enough to visit his studio and saw this painting. And when I saw it, what struck me was not only the visual depth, but also its kind of atmosphere of mystery. And I brought two kinds of tea with me back then, and Alexander chose this one, which we are going to serve today. It's a Phoenix oolong tea called Milan Xiang, and it has multi-layered depth. And he was, when I was brewing this tea, and he was like, can I touch this fabric? Can I smell this? Can I hold the teacup? So I experienced him as a very, very sensual person. And I think this is also reflected in his work. And I think it's a beautiful way to share this with you. And we have prepared the Phoenix Oolong there, and you can also take it. And also on the bottom of each cup, you may discover a small piece of snow ear mushroom, and you could also chew it for its texture. If it's not enough, we have also a small tea station there, and you could get more cups and also smell the tea, just as Alexander also did. Yeah, thank you. And thank you. Let's celebrate this exhibition and enjoy this moment. Thank you.
I want to thank Désiré for our long relationship, for the fact that he had this amazing idea of to do this almost 1 year long show, to show work of which I was not sure whether I would want it to be seen, and then to make me re-see it in a new way and to re-adapt it like a forgotten child in my body of work. That was really beautiful, and also giving me the opportunity to show this last piece, which is very important for me, the one that's on the wall, Vers la Flamme. And the way you set the light, it's really wonderful, Désiré. Thank you for this. And I want to thank Daniela. Daniela, your dedication to our conversations has been breathtaking for me. I have had so many conversations in my life with so many people, but the ones with you were beyond everything I have experienced so far with people. your knowledge, which is not an intellectual knowledge, it's a deep knowledge. You know, also the fact that I talked about Scriabin, and he said, yes, of course. And you can't say yes, of course, to Scriabin, because he's not a yes, of course kind of musician, so that means something to me. The way you inspired me during our conversations to kind of to find new ways of interconnecting content, and your amazing sense of humor. Thank you so much, Nadia.
Thank you, Alexander. It's been an immense pleasure, and I'm very happy that Désiré has you as his friend and that I could meet you. I would like to tell everyone that if you haven't been here from the beginning of this cycle, we have all the lectures online because our really incredible team has created the videos. Thank you so much for all this work to everyone from the office of the Feuerle Collection, and you will find also this lecture online very soon. Thank you. Enjoy the evening.